Okay, so we have started the recording.
All right.
Are you ready?
I am. This is exciting actually, because we've been talking about doing this for forever and we're finally doing this. So this is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, first things first, I actually wanted us to do this because I was like, I told myself, we at least need to at least capstone the fact of like how we got into this, and then we can talk about the topics.
Yeah.
So how did you get I want to ask you and you ask me. How did you get into finance and what got you started and all, fired up about it?
So I will say that my initial introduction to finance was through my boyfriend, now husband. But that was honestly fear, and that
Mm,
he's all about finance and budgeting and has always been like a super saver. And I
yeah.
wouldn't say that I was necessarily big spender because I don't have necessarily the biggest types of like things that I want to buy, like purses and jewelry and those types of things.
Mhm.
But I felt very overwhelmed. And the thought of
Mhm.
having a budget or the thought of even tracking my finances felt scary.
Oh, so you didn't budget beforehand, like before you guys met?
Oh no,
Oh,
no, I
okay.
did not. I did not
Oh.
budget at all. I had a job and
Okay.
I was bringing in, I would say a good average salary around like the 50-ish K mark. So actually below
Mhm.
average. Um, but I was still living at home with my mom.
Mhm.
She did charge me rent, which I'm not against at all.
Yeah,
But I was I was just kind of going with the flow. Like
things
Friday
were
night,
easier.
yeah,
Mhm.
Friday nights, Saturdays, me and my friends would go out. We would have
Mhm.
like standing relationship with the bartenders at Fridays. And
Love that.
every Friday, like that was our thing, like going
Mhm.
after work. And budgeting was never a part of the conversation. We would see
Okay.
friends that like everybody rented. Um, everybody leased,
Mhm.
or if they were buying cars, they might have bought like those cars that you could just pay cash. Like nobody was necessarily buying a car to own it.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about interest rates. Like it just wasn't a part of the conversation. Now, I will say, mind you, we met in our mid 20s.
Okay.
In my mid 20s, I was not worried
Yeah,
about
I
that.
wasn't either.
Yeah, and I had just come back from living in Cali for about a year, and I was looking for a job. So
Okay.
as I was trying to figure out what to do with my finances,
Mhm.
he was giving me this like quote unquote guidance of not necessarily just budgeting, but even
Mhm.
investing. And I was like,
Mhm.
wait, whoa, whoa, this is too much. I'm not ready for this. And what made me change my mind is that I had unfortunately been in a car accident,
Okay.
and I wasn't necessarily like recovering badly, but I had ended up with a settlement and I didn't want to waste the money. I had a car
Mm.
note at the time, so it was car accident, I had a car note that was
Yeah.
like 16% interest. And people are like, right, exactly, your eyes. 16%. My credit was that bad.
Yikes.
That bad. I was probably pushing like a good 500 to 550 credit score. And that was
Mhm.
through a credit union. And we're like
Wow.
going to credit unions and like, oh, they have the best
This
rate.
is this
They
race.
offered me 16%. Like
Yeah.
they didn't trust me. And honestly,
Ooh.
I had no like credit worthiness to
Yeah.
show them that I could be trustworthy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So
Mm.
okay, well, what do I do with this money? I don't want to waste it. And that's when I had the conversation with him, and he was like, well, have you thought about paying it off? Like paying off your car? And I was like, oh, yeah, like maybe I should do that. Like, and then, and I was blessed enough to have money left over. And I was like,
Okay.
what do I do with it next? Because this was like the end of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So got the settlement, ended up paying off the car. I told myself that I wanted to be better. So we're at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I want to really be better with my finances.
Hmm.
I have a couple, I think I was I was already 30. So I was like, oh, well, like I want to be better. Like 30 years old, I gotta be an
You
adult.
gotta put it together. Yeah.
I gotta get it together. And that's where I was like, well, maybe I'll try this investing thing.
Mm.
I ended up I ended up saving the money and being like, okay, well, what do I want to do?
Hmm.
And me and him had some conversations, and I ended up researching different stocks that I
Okay.
wanted to buy. And I was like, well, I'll just wait for the right time. They always say like you can't time the market,
I'm like, you can't.
but I wanted to be smart about my choices.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and everything crashed.
Oh,
When
wow.
everything crashed, I bought up everything that was on my list.
That's almost like you not timing the market, but the market just worked out for your timing.
Exactly, exactly. And so I considered it to be a buying opportunity. Like
Yes.
I know we'll go deeper into investing in later conversations, but it
Yeah.
was like the first time I had ever seen a sale when
Mm.
stocks were on sale. And I was like,
Yes.
I was buying up everything. But I felt so well prepared and I felt confident in the decisions, even still a little bit nervous because it was the first
Yeah.
time I was really doing it.
Hmm.
But I felt confident in the decision because I had done my research
Okay.
and had
That makes
had the
sense.
conversations with other people to make myself feel like, okay, I'm not making a haphazard decision. Like, yes, it's still risky.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm making an informed risk decision. And that made me feel more confident. Long story short, stocks ended up like skyrocketing back. I ended up buying things based on like the things that I knew. Like, for example, I bought Dave and Buster's.
Hmm.
$4 a share. And I was like, well, eventually we'll go back to going to Dave and Buster's and go
Yeah.
to all the places. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll just buy Dave and Buster's at $4 a share. And I'll buy like 20 or 30 shares of that because that's $4 a share. It's easy money.
Yeah.
They ended up going to $14 a share
Mm.
and ended up using that money to then get a down payment on that condo and then buy that. Like, so it just kind of like
Yeah.
folded in a way that I couldn't have imagined, but honestly, it was a blessing. But I felt like it was really I felt more confident in all my decisions because I did the research. And then it didn't seem so bad.
Gotcha. So when it comes to like the research part of it, did you feel overwhelmed by that process? Did you feel like you had help and support? What was your experience learning about investing or learning about finance in general?
Yeah, it's so ironic because my mom was actually a budget analyst, but she didn't teach me budgeting. And I love my mom, I
Mm.
do. And I would
Yeah.
see her like write checks, like and pay bills and all of those things, but I
Hmm.
had no idea like what she was actually doing. Like I knew how to fill out a check, like she would
Yeah.
show me how to fill out the check, but I didn't understand like she would balance her checkbook and all had no idea what she was doing. And
Yes.
then kind of shifting more to the digital age, I never even owned a checkbook. I still have not.
Okay, that's fair.
Whenever I need a check, I go to the bank.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was very unknown, those things that we didn't really talk about. And not
Mhm.
so that she wanted to hide it. I don't know if she knew that she should teach me.
Yeah, the priority of it all. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
like
you.
even with doing my taxes, like she does my taxes because she knows how to do
I
taxes and
get this.
for other people. But I can't say confidently, even right now, that like if I needed to do my taxes, that I would feel the most confident in doing them.
I get you.
It's those things that like you have to do in life that no one ever teaches you. And now that we're older, we're like, why did nobody ever say this? Which is why we're having these conversations. But what
Yeah.
I realize is that because there are so many emotions tied to money, people feel uncomfortable being questioned about their financial choices.
Yeah.
So
As
it's
you're saying that, I get that for sure.
yeah, so it's not even that they don't necessarily want to talk about it. It's that they don't want to talk about it because the emotions that they have tied to their financial like history or
Mhm.
their financial status. Living in the DMV area, financial status is a huge thing.
It is.
What you don't realize is most people are broke. Like it's just the people going to brunch have no money. Like for the most part, I'm probably gonna get like called out for this, but like, most people that I knew when we were going to brunch for like 4 hours,
That's such a
$50 to
DC thing.
$100, it was so expensive. and it still is very expensive.
Yeah,
No
it
money,
is. Mhm.
no
Yeah,
savings, credit cards, like all the things. And
yeah.
that was just the lifestyle. So yeah, it's definitely made me feel better now, but even being informed, I wasn't necessarily informed because of my parents. I would say that I was informed because of my bad habits and my lessons that I learned. And I was like, I
Mhm.
don't want to live my life like this. So how can I be better? How can I make choices that allow me to be in a better state or even show other people how they can do it too?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm in the same boat in the sense of like being close to finance in my family, but like not learning it from my family directly.
Mhm.
So my dad is an accountant or has been an accountant for years. So you think, and this is from the childlike sense of me. It's like, oh, accountant. So you know everything money, everything
Right.
finance. That's my
Yeah.
thought process.
Yeah.
Not realizing the different intricacies of finance and accounting not literally sitting in the same boat, and that doesn't touch anything to do with stocks or investing, or it doesn't do with
Yeah.
any of that, but I didn't understand that growing up. So
Yeah.
my parents were very avid on giving us, as I call, the base layer, and in my opinion the base layer is like know how to budget. That's it. Like, okay, there's not enough in just budgeting, but
Yeah.
I grew up, I remember college freshman year, I did the envelope system of budgeting. And if
Mhm.
you don't, if anyone knows the envelope system, it's like when you have different categories and buckets of what you're going to spend your money on, and you have literally an envelope and you put your
Yeah.
money in it, like cash envelope. Yeah, I know no one uses
Yeah.
cash anymore, but back then I was putting cash in my envelopes, and I was like, dang, I only got $10 left on groceries, and I got to make this stretch and stuff like that. So I started off in college that way. And I thought I was pretty solid, like when it came to my finances, like, okay, I know how to budget. No one can touch me. Cause that was all I knew and understood to be important.
Mhm.
I think it only hit me around like senior-ish year, a little bit more after that as well. Like, I don't quite understand this taxes thing. And like, how is
Yeah.
it that I'm getting paid, but this money is just not stretching? What are we gonna do? Like, I just was kind of confused and feeling like there's more to the story that I don't know. That's what I felt like. I just didn't know I didn't know where to go, but I knew there was more to the story. And my dad was involved in doing our taxes as a family, investing, budgeting as well. But like that same experience you had of like teaching us and sitting us down saying, okay, these are the stocks and this is what you do
Yeah.
to invest, and like this is how you do your taxes. In my mind, I think my father did think like, well, I don't want to worry you too early with that stuff. I
Mhm.
don't want to bother you. Like, honestly, live your life, be young, have experiences,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is which is great. But I was like, but
Yeah.
now that I'm like having like they're coming for me, the IRS is coming for me, daddy. I need to know what to do now. Like,
Yeah.
that was
You
like
you
my
hit on
experience.
something so big where I do think like we coming from like middle class households, I feel like because our parents didn't have, they wanted to give us so much and did and
Hmm.
do. But there's so much that we don't learn in the process because they don't want us to have to worry about it. Because
Yeah,
they probably had to worry about it so much younger. Like my
yeah.
mom tells me, like when she was graduating college, her and my dad bought a house. I'm like, I'm
That is
graduating. We have nothing. Like, there is
good.
nothing. Yeah, and so that is where I think that the overprotection there out of
Oh
love
my God. Yeah,
actually didn't help us to learn the life things. Like we
yeah,
learned that sometimes you're gonna fall or that sometimes you won't win, but not the tactical things of budgeting or buying property or doing taxes, the things that help us to scale and leave legacy even for our future families. Those things aren't taught to us. And honestly, I'm not sure that they were. I know my mom for sure was not taught that. Like
yeah.
she was the
And
first homeowner and all the things.
correct, and my parents were immigrants. They came into America and they had to kind of learn it on their own. And I kind of agree in the sense of like there's an overprotection because of the fact that maybe their experience was a little traumatic or very much throw in
Yeah.
the end of the pool, and then you have to just kind of swim as fast as I could. So like if you're coming from that experience of learning anything finance in that regard, you're almost scarred in some sense. So you don't know what's important and healthy to do and what's not. So in your mind, you're overwhelmed by taxes. So for that reason, you take it on so your children don't have to, and then you don't teach your children the basics of it because you're like, oh, that was just all overwhelming. It all kind of goes into
Yeah.
one bubble versus realizing like, yeah, unfortunately your entry to it was maybe not the greatest, and but they still need to know these things because it's a foundation of how to operate. And
Yeah.
it's always been one of those things for me. I've been the child out of my family where I was like sitting at the dinner table and then my dad's like, well, I got to do this. I'm like, oh, are we talking about budget? Let me know. And he's like, I always like been super eager to find out
Okay.
and to know and to be into things. And that's kind of what I slowly but surely started to learn more about various ways to budget, various ways to well, I think savings, honestly, and that kind of takes us into our conversation, one of our the questions what I ask. I think when it comes to savings, that was the two other things. Budget and savings were two
Yeah.
things I did learn growing up because you had to stretch a dollar. It wasn't because it was like, oh, we need to learn. It was like we don't have the funds. The 50 cents gotta go far. What do you mean? Like that
Yeah.
was what it was. It wasn't like we're trying to learn it. So if anything, I credit my mother the most to learning what it means to clip coupons, buy things when it's on sale and not when it's at the highest price, what times of the year to buy certain things. My mother's always been super good at knowing how to stretch a buck. So that I think I just kind of took a bit further with various different things and adding the credit card experience to that, which is one of my
Yeah.
favorite things. And just like learning that you can find other ways to save. So budgeting and savings, I started with first, and then I kind of slowly got into investing and then more into just like, okay, different streams of income and getting myself in a place where I'm like, I'm not scared of any area of finance now, which I feel like that in itself is more of an accomplishment than like saying I have a certain amount in the bank. Just I feel strong and
Sure.
confident in it.
For sure. It makes me think about like the people who talk about finances often, or not even necessarily just finances, but personal development. And
Mhm.
I mention often how they've lost it, but were able to make it all back. And then
Yep.
because they learned the foundations so that it didn't necessarily matter how much they had at their account at one time, but they knew that they had the tactics to learn and get it all back.
Yeah, because it's a strategy. Almost every area and aspect of finance that I've learned, and I'm still learning, we're still growing.
Yeah.
I always realize there's a formula of some sort to understand or certain aspects and components that if you fit within those boundaries, if you understand the parameters, if you understand how that operation moves, then you're like, oh, okay, then you could add your own flair to it, or do certain things. Or if it were removed completely, you know how to get back to it because you understand the fundamentals. And I think, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we came together and we're, doing CAC, because honestly, we understand that fundamentals are so important. I've seen so many times, a lot of my friends, I think my experience with, I don't say irresponsible, but maybe not as managed finance experiences with friends. It's like knowing that we need to do better to get more, to be more mindful about funds, and trying all the gimmicks, trying all the different things that are on social media,
Right.
like, okay, I would say it is get rich quick schemes of like, oh, let's do this. Yeah, I don't know how many times my friends have been in pyramid schemes. I'm telling you, but the
Really?
multi-level
Oh,
marketing has
wow.
hit us as a unit. It's been a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
stuff like that where it's like you're trying so, but you
Okay.
know that you need more funds, but you're not realizing like, oh, it's more that you're spending in a way that's not as impactful, or you're not monitoring your money in a way that's truly making sure that you're impactful in what you're doing. You want to do this event or you want to go on this trip, but you're not mindful of how to strategize your entire, month or year to make sure that you have enough funds to do that, or just you're getting more money in the door. All those things is like principles that you're not learning, but still going after things that seem very flashy and have a lot more dollar signs to it. So I think for me, realizing a lot of the times that it's easy to fall into these little pitfalls. I was like, no, I want to teach people what it means to have a solid foundation. So you're not coming to me every single minute asking what's the next step. You know it already. You
Yeah.
have that foundation to be able to say, oh, this is what I need to do because I learned this and this is more of a principle. Whereas, like, oh, the market's going up or going down. Oh, no, I'll just do this, where you're following what's happening versus like knowing
Right.
what the actual principles are of how to operate in that system.
Yeah, exactly. And when those times happen where the market crashes or there's a sell-off or something like that, and you panic sell along with that, it doesn't help you at all. But
It
you'll
doesn't.
learn that when you have those foundations.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I know that we are in June, summertime. So I kind of wanted one of the questions that I felt like would be a good one to answer because I just came back from traveling. I don't know why every single time for May, I'm never home. I'm like, it's literally like maybe 1 week in May, I'm home. Ever since like 3, 4 years ago now, I'm just always traveling, which is it's a blessing. I'm thankful to be able to travel, but I love
Right.
my bed sometimes. Okay. So with that being
Yeah, I'm a
said,
homebody, so I get it. I definitely
yeah.
get it.
If anything, one of the questions I thought would be really good to answer and to kind of give one, I want to hear your insights and also just for us to kind of talk about it is like, what's the smartest travel hacks you've ever used to save a lot of money or that either cost you nothing to do, like a simple thing that was easy, that cost nothing to do, or whatever it was, it still gave you hundreds back.
So I will say that I'm not necessarily the biggest travel hacker. I
Okay.
don't like research the different airlines or email like not emails, the different links to get the lowest price and things. That's not necessarily a me thing. I will
Okay.
say that. However, I try to automate as much as possible.
Ooh, okay. What does that look like?
So automating for me, for number one, high yield savings accounts. We talk about that all the time, and people don't realize how much money you are leaving on the table by
Oh,
just having your money in a regular savings account or a regular checking account.
yeah,
Yes, there is a little bit of an additional step for you to do it. And yes, you might have an online bank versus a brick and mortar bank, but that's why you're able to get a higher rate is because they're not paying a mortgage to somebody or a lease to somebody. You pay that
exactly.
money yourself.
Yeah.
And high yield savings accounts are probably like my biggest thing. And I didn't know the power of them until I was trying to save for a condo.
Mm,
That's where I saw where like the bigger the number that I was saving, the more that interest was helping me to save even more because it was compounding.
yes.
And the power of compound interest is amazing. But I would say that's probably my biggest thing where literally I've been able to add hundreds of dollars to my account per month because of
Irma.
interest.
Just because it's sitting there. Literally, I'm glad you brought that up because I have two of my sinking funds, aka savings funds, in a high yield savings account, and one of them being my travel. I don't save money for travel anywhere else but high yields. I don't understand anyone who would think to save it in a regular bank where you're getting 0.0001%. Like you're getting nothing back. They're giving you a high five for putting your money there. Versus
Exactly.
for me, I actually even for part of the process of me saving for travel for the year because I do travel fairly often. Most of my family's on the East Coast. I'm Texas. So for me, I know I'm gonna travel, so I tried my best to figure out, okay, how can I save the most on it? High yield savings accounts, having monthly money coming in, interest every
Yeah.
single time. I actually almost factor that into how much I have to save a
Mhm.
year for travel because it's like, oh, the bank will pay me for me leaving my money here, and when
Yeah.
I need to take it out, I'll take it out as needed. And I usually don't do it like because of the fact that for compound interest, you want to leave your money there. The more you leave your money there, the more it grows. Don't keep pulling it out every month and like, I'm not seeing the interest. Well, yeah, you keep pulling
Right.
out the
Exactly.
money, so you're not going to see the interest. So I do it in in sections. I don't ever like pull out every single month. So like if I know I have travel coming up, I'll pull out one set of that money for the travels and leave the rest because I want it to keep growing. I still want to be able to get money in as I'm traveling and doing the thing. So that's also something I do a lot of the times too.
Yeah. What would you say are like other travel hacks that you do?
Ooh, I am a travel hack person. I've calmed down with the sense of that I'm always having like 6 and 7 different screens open. Like we're gonna find the best deal known to man. I've simplified my process a lot more now. But for me, outside of the high yield savings accounts, that's the first thing, saving my money there and making sure I know exactly how much I'm wanting to spend for the year.
Yeah.
I think First and foremost, just mindset is really important when when you're deciding to save or when you're deciding to travel. A lot of the times, because we're overworked or overwhelmed in life, we want to treat ourselves, which is really
Right.
good. But you need to also make sure you treat yourself, but not hurt your future self. So,
Oh,
starting with a budget of how much you're gonna
yeah.
spend is
Yeah.
almost the first important thing. And there's times where I have to say, I'm sorry, friends, I can't go on that trip. You know, every group has like 8 different trips, and only one of them get out the group chat. We all know that. And I make sure that I'm like, I'm not saying yes to anything I can't afford. That's bar none. Before I even start the idea of hacking, is okay, can I afford this? Yes. If not, darn it, guys, take great pictures. Let me know what happens after. I have to be realistic and honest with myself. And it makes the experience better knowing that I'm not traveling back home afterward with negative in my bank account. So yeah.
And that's the perfect thing. I remember talking to a friend once, and she was mentioning that on her birthday, she did a trip where she enjoyed it so much, but then because she paid it on her credit card, she didn't realize the amount of interest that was coming. She was paying for that trip 6 months later. Right.
Yikes.
So it's like,
Wow.
yes, you want to plan, and I definitely agree having a budget. I don't travel too much. I like to do big trips, so it ends
Mhm.
up being a little expensive, but I only do them maybe once or twice a year. And because of those, okay, I'm like, where do I want to travel? How do I want to travel? Because I won't say that I travel uh, first class, but I do love a good roomy seat. And when I do go to wherever hotel, I like nice hotels. I like nice beach stays. So I'm not necessarily always trying to do Airbnb or uh, whatever options that give you like the tiniest room. Like, no, I want a really nice room. I want maybe room
Space.
service, or
Yeah.
maybe I want a butler because
Mm.
the things that you learn when you're traveling and see what the options are, and they're not that expensive if you prepare for them.
If you prepare, that's the word right
Exactly.
there.
And
Yeah,
having the
correct.
budget to do that just made it so much easier where I didn't have to worry about it even up until that point of travel,
Mhm.
without exception of maybe paying like a luggage fee or something
Yeah,
like that. But outside of that, like going to an all-inclusive resort, or um maybe skimping on the alcohol a little bit because the alcohol tends to be more
more
expensive
expensive,
when you're
correct.
traveling versus just paying for just the food, going to buffet options versus doing a la carte. Like those
Mhm.
are all the different ways, like while you're traveling, that you can save, because food ends up being one of the more expensive things unless
Correct.
you're a type of person that decides to do excursions. But even excursions, I've noticed, aren't as expensive as the food.
Yeah, no.
To be more expensive.
Yeah, and with the excursions, I found a lot of times when you're planning it ahead of time, depending on where you're going, because there's two experiences I've had where it's for excursions. Either one, paying ahead of time helps you to reduce the upcharge of, that,
Oh
you
yeah.
just seeing a new, sign for snorkeling and now you want to snorkel, it's, $150 versus you did it online, it's $60, something like that. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, if you did it ahead of time, it may be cheaper. But then there are certain places that you go to, certain, international places you may go to, wherever, where you may be able to haggle pricing, but you need to know this beforehand and you need to do your research. Like wherever you're going, make sure and do your research of like, okay, what's the local average pricing for that, for transportation or for lodging, and try and find the best in that regard. I'll say for me, when it comes to like hacking it down to like lodging, transportation, excursions, food, um I love me a good credit card, and them points get me so far. They really do. They really do. And for the longest time, I was a no annual fee girly because I don't want to pay any money for, getting bonuses and perks. I just didn't see the point. And honestly, I do still recommend a lot of people, if you aren't in the financial position to have an annual fee on your credit card, please don't. Just because the girls are talking about they're going on points and they're getting, the Amex Platinum and all that does not mean you need to do that because they're saying that. Like you really just stay in the lane that fits you. Because I was no annual fee for so long, and I still was able to use a lot of that cash back to pay for the flights and to pay for the lodging. So it's still going to be beneficial to you to do a no annual fee card and to get those cash back. And pay off different things. However, I did graduate to the annual fee brigade because some of the points are really impactful and some of the perks you get for some of these cards are really impactful. So Capital and Mentor X is one of my favorite cards. They have lounge access so that I'm relaxing a bit before I get onto the flight. And then they have different things where you can like, pay for your flights in the portals that they have, which is a little bit reduced in rate depending on where you're going and things of that nature. They also have deals that you can do and see that they have. So if
Yeah.
you're planning ahead of time, these things can be beneficial to you. And if you're a travel person like I am, then it's really helpful. But if it's not, like if you're doing one or two trips a year, maybe, and some of them may be just local, honestly, no fee cards are going to be your best friend to be able to get some extra cash to pay down on certain things for the trips. And then honestly, Google Flights for finding flights. Believe it
Yeah.
or not, people think that you have to find these like, oh, this really different, like Google Flights will probably get you a pretty good flight, if anything. And then when it comes to stays, I'm an Airbnb girly, honestly. I
Mhm.
do like a hotel experience, but I like a little kitchenette and a little living room situation. And usually I'm typically traveling with friends. So we
Yeah.
try and split costs pretty well and making sure that and that just I think for Airbnb and those types of things, I've heard of different hacks. I haven't used it as much, but there's hacks where you can look up the Airbnb photos, like their main photo online. You can do the Google images, and that may help you to find that particular unit that's posted on another website like Verbo or things of that nature for cheaper. So that's also helpful in that regard. But it usually just depends on where I'm trying to go if I really need to hack down. But
Right.
honestly, I found that the biggest hack is just traveling when it's not high season. All price points just go way down for everything. Really helpful that way for me.
That is so true. Yeah, traveling when nobody else is. So if you're no kids yet and or no kids still and you are able to take advantage of that, definitely do that. Or if you're homeschooling kids. But
Yeah.
speaking of kids, what would you say are some tips, or have you had to be in an experience where you were paying for kids to go to camps or daycares or those types of things during the summer, where you are dealing with more of those expenses? And if so, like, how did you prepare?
That's a good question. I am kitty free thus far, so but I haven't had to deal with that particularly. But I love me a good sale and a good discount, so I follow a lot of different like pages and things of that nature. And a lot of the times I've found that maybe not camps, but like it's summertime, kids are out of school. What do how do we keep them engaged? If it's not a camp, what do you do? And there's a lot of actually free events that happen around various cities. If you live in a major city, it's probably going to be easier for you. And also there's like free bowling and free like certain nights for kids or like day events for kids. And if you look that up, you'll be able to find a couple different events. Museums have them too, for, kid experiences and stuff like that. It takes a little bit of research to find out what's happening in your city and when it's happening. But I followed this influencer where she actually maps it out like before the kids get out of school. She's like looking up all the stuff and she maps out what the summer's going to look like for them ahead of time of all the free things for them to do. And then she tag teams with another family so that she's not the only mom having to kind of take them around. So she's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, it's like, let's say like for this month, there's like 10 things to do or 12 things to do, whatever. So you'll take the kids for five of those things, and the other time she has some time off or whatever. So it's different ways to go about it, but I think that like looking up free events and activities for kids, especially around summertime, is definitely a hack to not have to pay a lot of the pocket, get them out the house, get them out of your hair for a little bit, hopefully.
Um,
What
yeah,
about
no,
you?
I definitely agree with you there. So, me and my husband don't have any kids yet. However, for about 3 summers, we would have our goddaughter for about a month just staying with us. And we always wanted to put her in something because we work full time.
Yeah,
And like you said, you got to get them out the house. And even though she was coming to stay with us, we couldn't spend the entire time like not with
with
her
her.
for a month.
Yeah.
Not now. We're not in that. yet.
Yeah.
So we definitely put her in camps of things that she would be interested in, things that challenged her, things that would have her do homework. So like while I would be cooking, she would tell me like about her day and we would have homework for her to do. So
Mhm.
kind of like being in school, but more on the fun end.
Okay.
Maybe she would be working on more projects. We would take her to
Mhm.
the gym, we would take her to parks, lots of free events, especially in major cities. Like you said, there's like paddle boarding, there's boat shows, there's all these conventions where they have little like kids sections.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't know these things until you do your research. There's
Correct.
plenty of museums that have special days or tickets, especially if you want to do groups where maybe you take some friends of theirs.
Mhm.
That ends up being much easier. Also, I am blessed that my mother-in-law owns a daycare. So
Cheat
we
code, cheat
do
code.
we do end up putting her there, even though she's like a lot older than most of the kids. It ends up being where she ends up being like teacher's helper.
Aw.
That's how it ends up being. Like we still pay to have her there. However, it's something where she still gets to be more engaged. They go on field trips, they go to the pool.
Oh, that's
Speaking of
nice.
pools, that is one of the things that is great to get them tired.
Oh, yes.
Having kids go to a pool, like we have a pool in our neighborhood,
Hmm.
and just being out there all day, knocked out.
Yes.
Knocked
Something about that sun and that water. Get some good. Get some good.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, so it's definitely something that I think really requires planning now. For the
Yeah.
booking of it alone, I did not realize how expensive camps are
Oh,
for like
expensive.
a week, and they don't even feed the kids. You still got to bring them lunch. Like,
Yeah.
what are you here for? Or they're half days, or they start really late. I'm like, what type of camp starts at 10 o'clock? Like, y'all
Yeah.
see that I work remotely. Like, who and picking them up at 3? Like,
Yeah.
who can
It's not even a full coverage. It's like I have things to do, but I'm like stopping the things I have to do to make sure that they get there and get back. Yeah.
So
Honestly.
I definitely think that the carpooling thing, we should have done that.
Yeah.
We should have done that because being having to worry about picking them up or paying an aftercare fee, like it's a fee for everything. So
Yes.
like if you can't pick them up within the first like 15 minutes, they're charging you fees. Like it's fees for everything. Like
That's crazy. Give me grace, please.
the grace is that you get that fee and they don't kick
Ugh.
the kid. Like that is the thing.
Oh my gosh.
It's definitely something to plan for. I love
Mhm.
the idea of having them on a schedule, especially if you know that there are like summer trips that you have, so you can kind of like work around it. But it's one of those things to me that you budget for during the school year, not when it's actually time to put them in camp.
Yeah, once summer hits, it's too late. Like you kind of have to already have certain things planned out, finding out what your summer camp crew is going to be of families to work with and kind of, and places to go. I a lot of the times it seems like preparation and not even just for, kids and like anything that you're trying to do around summertime or throughout the year. It's like a lot of preparation gets you further in life when it comes to
Oh,
trying to save a lot of money and also take away the stress from it. I found a lot of times, like when it comes to trying to save or stretch a buck, um, preparation takes away the anxiety of if something comes up. Because if you've planned out a little bit ahead of time, it doesn't feel overwhelming when you hear like, oh, it's $15 extra. Yes, it may throw a wrench in the plans,
yeah.
but you had most of the specifics put together versus nothing was ever put together. And you're like, oh my gosh, now this extra money I didn't expect for, and it could be literally $5, and that could throw your whole thing off if you didn't prepare ahead of time. So hopefully that helps somebody to understand that, like, I mean, for me, I am not a very big like summer is the time to do certain things type of person. I find the best time in the year for myself and
Yeah.
I try to maximize on that. So I don't do as much like actual traveling in June, July. Honestly, most of my traveling or most of my activities are in September. It's still kind of warm. I
Mine
know
too.
the kiddos are back in school, so it may be harder for, families with kids, but like it's easier, and it's also cheaper in certain places to travel and to do certain activities and events at that time. And I think depending on the city that you're in, there's still a lot of activities and events that are happening around at that time too, so you can have like, great experiences.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah.
So, of the questions, I think we hit all of them. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
Um, Only thing I could think about, and this is more of like, um I like to always like tie up all of great ideas, tips, and tricks into like a nice bill of like, what's the one thing if anyone were to ever like, if someone were to ask you, okay, when it comes to saving, budgeting, when it comes to the summertime or traveling, like any of the topics we talked about, what's the main thing like that has truly saved you? Like, oh, this new perspective or this one tip has truly made the difference in my life, whether that be in the saving aspect and budgeting or traveling or hacking or anything of that nature.
I'll take a two-pronged approach with that.
Okay.
I don't think that there's just one. So the first thing I would say is mindset, and
Okay.
I touched on that a little bit as well.
Mhm.
Mindset in that I can actually tackle it. I do think
Mm.
that there is a reservation that we have as we're becoming adults where we don't become want to be an adult. So it's like all of the things that would mean that you're an adult, you don't want to do.
Oh,
So
facts.
it, budgeting, I think, is a part of that. Paying taxes, uh, any sort of planning. I think that those are all the things where we push away from them or are hesitant to do them because they mean that we're growing up and we all want to be kids.
Yeah.
So I think that that's probably the part of it. But once I shifted my mindset to, and I actually can do this thing, then it was all about planning,
Yeah.
create a plan for myself that I hope worked, but I felt like it would work because I planned as much as I could.
Yeah.
Being informed, asking questions, asking the right people questions, because there are people that I ask questions of right now when I ask them about a budget, and they're like, "What budget?" I'm like, "You're like 40. Like, what do you mean, what budget?" That's where a lot of people are. So I don't
Yeah.
shade to them, but it's just more that planning I've found helps me to be prepared, helps me to be more relaxed, helps me to be excited about it. And that I can look forward to whatever it is because it's not like, oh, I have to pay for this. It's like, no, like I get to do this. And when this is paid for, I get to experience this thing, whether it's I now get to buy this house, or I now get to buy this car, or I now get to pay this thing off, or loans, or whatever. And the relaxation that I felt and continue to
Mm.
feel is just something that is so difficult to describe, but once you feel it, you know what it is.
Yeah. I totally agree with you that the freedom, almost like a lifting of sorts, to know that there's not, because I think what you're speaking to is like that weight of responsibility that you get as you get older. There's certain aspirations you may have or things that you're going after or people you need to, pay be responsible for, being a parent or being a caretaker, where
Yeah,
you're like, wow, this is just a lot to handle. And when you can take something off of your plate, especially financially take something off of your plate, that load being lifted off just feels so amazing. And the planning allows you to get there without it feeling overwhelming. Taking it by bit, piece by piece, to know that, okay, I think the saying is like, eat the elephant one bite at a time or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it's the idea of like, okay, there's this large thing I have to handle, and man, adulting sucks sometimes because why do I have to handle all these large things? But like,
yeah,
if I take the time to plan ahead of time with certain things and paying this off or budgeting appropriately or saving for something, I can get to that intended goal without feeling overwhelmed and also feel very liberated at the fact of what I got to. Yeah,
no,
I
I
totally
definitely
agree.
there. Did you have one thing that you wanted to share as well? Or were they kind of like the same?
I think that for me, when it comes to the budgeting and the savings, as well as like any sort of hacking, planning, yes, 100%. I think that's like my number one. If you plan it, you're probably going to get further along than not planning and trying to kind of scramble your way through. But also, I think to take it high level would probably be that the people around you, as much as they have been able to manage your life and to do the things that they've done in their life, some of the aspirations that you may have, they don't may not know how to get there. And it's okay to go looking for those answers. And I say that more specifically because of the travel experience. Yes, I can say, oh yeah, I get this credit card, or look at this website. Those are the tangible things to be able to say those are like really key things to help with. But mindset wise, I think I it took me a while to realize, like, I love my people, I love my friends, I love my family. They aren't the type to hop on a plane really quickly, and that's my dream. I wanna be able to travel often. I wanna be able to be, as transient as I possibly can to be able to explore the world. So, they may not have tools and tips to be able to support me with that, because that's not something they're doing. And it's okay if that's not something they're doing. I don't have to have every friend that group that goes on a trip with me, but that also lets me know that, step outside of my comfort zone and look for the things I'm wanting to experience. So, some people may think it's crazy for me to have as many credit cards as I have, but like I've learned how to deal with that, and it fits my lifestyle, and it allows me to get to the dream and goal that I have, especially for traveling for sure.
Yeah, I think what you're speaking to is more so the alignment of values within your circle.
Yeah.
And when there are times where your circle that you're used to does not have the same values that as you, being okay with shifting your circle.
Mm.
That leans into something way beyond finances.
For
But
sure.
that's how you and I met.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're like stepping outside of the values that we thought and the values that we're used to being around for people, where we challenged it and we're curious and
Mhm.
decided like, well, are there other people like me who want to have this conversation, who want to help others in the
Yeah.
conversation too, and not necessarily just hoard all the information for yourself, but like
Facts.
how can we help each other? And then we have these conversations where like that's where these money chats have come up, where you and I could just talk for hours about finances, about how to help other people build their finances, about tips where we can learn from each other as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
having those conversations, I think, have been so gratifying that I'm excited as we just kind of kick off this channel, kick off this series, kick off
Mhm.
talking more about finances with others and really
Yeah.
pushing the transparency where people don't feel so uncomfortable having it. Like I feel like if we want to have it, maybe like uncomfortable conversations or something like that about money.
Yeah, I feel
However
like
we
it.
decide that we want to like call this, but this is really the kickoff because we want people to feel comfortable asking questions that they just never knew that they could ask. Like bringing it back full circle where beginning of our conversation where you and I were talking about how we started talking about finances, neither of them actually started with our homes like as children and
Yeah.
or even growing up there. They started with us being curious and finding things that worked for us, whether they were good or bad or lessons that we've learned. But
Yeah.
that's where we're like, okay, obviously these conversations aren't happening in households, especially not among our age group or like
Correct.
early mid 30s. Then there's got to be other people that are in the same struggle and want to just know where to start, how to have the conversations, or even just elaborate on what they've already done and kind of take it to the next level. And we're hoping that these types of conversations bring that to people, they find value in that, and that they will want to participate in the conversation as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's for the curious, it's for the confused, it's
Yeah.
for anyone
Yeah.
trying to figure out, like, there's something else there and I just don't quite know. And I'm not even sure how to ask the question.
Right.
But like just being in the room sometimes gets you a lot further than you are in your experience. So I'm excited to have more conversations because this is how we feel comfortable in this moment because this is where we always started out, like the curiosity of learning more about finance and not being afraid to ask the questions. And I think hopefully us asking the questions or saying the things people feel like, oh, okay, that's not crazy to think because like they also said that and I think that too. And like just having that
Right.
like moment. Yeah.
Exactly. I love the voice that you did right there. Got really high, really high. I love it. I love it. Yeah, but we're gonna close this out.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you to whoever is deciding to watch us. We hope that you will continue to watch us as we will bring you more conversations. And if there are questions that you specifically have based on finances, your money, your journey with money that you are looking to answer, feel free to reach out to us in the comments. Feel free to reach out to us via email. So we'll put that in the show notes.
Mhm.
And we will see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye. All right.